Hey guys, JesterArke, and we are back in TerraTech. Okay, we're running around with the same rig that I had at the end of the last episode, but we won't be for long. I decided to go out and try and hunt for those big wheels that I couldn't find. I also really want the step conveyor. Sadly, I did not find it this episode. I played for about an hour. I think it was just a smidgen over that I recorded. Actually, which means actual playtime is probably closer to an hour and a half to hour and three-quarter. But you'll see it'll jump every now and then. If I was doing something ridiculously monotonous, I figured I was going to put you guys through watching the entire thing. But yeah, so main goal here is just, as I said, to run around and try and get the pieces that I wanted. So, incidentally, it is my anniversary episode. Anniversary being because it's my actual anniversary today. Sadly though, Bale and I both have to work, so I saw her briefly this morning. Won't see her again now until sometime tomorrow morning briefly, and then sometime Sunday briefly. Yeah, I really dislike weekends. I know a lot of people look forward to them, but yeah, for me weekends mean work. But that's alright. I actually enjoy my job, for the most part. I whinge about it, but who doesn't? So I just finished pulling this base apart. Okay. So I've set up the system on the bottom just to sort of pick up pieces and then just sell them straight away, not bothering about ripping them down. I don't know, there's a few different ways you can set things up. Like the system that I've got up on top isn't fast. We've seen that before. Main purpose of the system up on top is to sell harvestable goods at the refined prices. Obviously, if we want to sell them for the maximum price, we'd also be trying to put the little foundry in there as well. We saw how much luck I had with the foundry last time, and it was a whole lot of not much. So, and unfortunately, as I have mentioned before, we can't sell non-GSO parts. It's a bit of a pity. There we go. There's the wheels I wanted. Get it good. Get it good. So I can now buy those parts, which is awesome. I was tempted just here on the spot to sort of start changing my vehicle around, but yeah, then I decided no. I'm actually going to head back to base. For what I want to do, I'm going to need a lot more money than what I've got. In fact, it turned out for what I wanted to do, I needed a lot more money than I was going to have at any stage this episode. So, yeah. Kind of unfortunate, but that happens. Pick up pieces. Yeah, I did mention I want to start working on the aircraft and hover vehicles, but I do need to find more parts. There's a couple of sort of fairly important, like I don't have any of the wings or anything like that, which are kind of important with some of the builds that we're going to be doing. So I'll probably spend a fair bit of time over the next however long it takes me to find all the parts that I need. Heading back to my main base via the desert. Okay, get this guy out of my way. Unfortunately, he did have a couple of fuel tanks that I didn't have yet, but they blowed up. This particular vehicle loadout is not great if you want to salvage a lot of parts. I will say that much. And we're going to, right about sometime soon is where, yep, this is where I had my silliest idea yet. Let's just pull everything apart and sell it all. This is going to take roughly forever. Because interestingly enough, it took me ages. I think it's, yeah, there we go. Realised that it was going to take forever, so I decided not to finish recording it. But how do we like my little drone? Well, it's not even a drone, it's actually a little manned vehicle. The whole purpose of this guy is I can pull stuff apart and push it all over there. So what I've done is basically put a... look at it all, look at it all! Put down a couple of the solar generators. One of the GeoCore batteries. Well, there's two there at the moment, but I only need the one. The big GeoCore tractor pad and a couple of the GSO, those large receivers. So basically what's happening, everything I push over there is being picked up by the GSO receivers, and because of how close it is to the trade station is then snapping it all up. So setting something like that up next to the trading stations is a brilliant way to sort of get the rapidly sell off the other stuff. I'm going to keep the little tractor, but this is where I'm going to start actually trying to build my new main vehicle. As long as I don't get dead by the guy that's off to the side there. Ooh, I have coffee. I really had no clear idea as to what I wanted to make at this stage. I just sort of started slinging blocks together. So once again, I realised it was going to be one of those long monotonous tasks, so I haven't sat there and tried to record the whole thing. Well, actually no, I did try to at first, but yeah, there we go. So you can see I've put in place, well, starting to put in place the conveyor system on top. We've got multiple refineries and a couple of the scrappers. And just a big continuous loop all the way around the edge. Now, the way I've got the power generators set up, it is going to take raw material as well as refined material. So, the overall design that I had here, I have done similar before, but this is going to be quite a raised vehicle. Now, as I said, I have done similar before, but the main problem here is I don't have the step conveyors. I had the step conveyors last time I did this. So the receiving pads were much closer to the ground than the rest of the system was. Unfortunately, I'm going to be much higher up than I was then, and yeah, it didn't work the way I wanted it to. So it's not to say it doesn't work, it's just not as efficient as I'd hoped. Don't know why I just decided to pause for a second or two at the start of each intro bit. I don't know. Anyway, yeah. So that was the initial height that I'd gone for. Unfortunately, it was just too high. I wasn't picking up the pieces. So, although silly me forgot to actually test it before I just ran off. So in this case, I'm not going to have as many receivers, but you'll see the way I've designed the body sort of around them, you'll see why very soon. Well, soonish. Lack of symmetry hurting my brain. But then when I make it symmetrical, it just doesn't work. Frustration much. Wait for it. Light bulb. There we go. As long as I've got two receivers in the middle there, it'll look fine from the outside. So you can see I've spaced out the receivers this time around instead of having them sort of side by side. It means I'm not going to be able to potentially pick up as much at once, but I can, with the size of the conveyor system in this, I can carry a lot more at once. Here's me testing it with my extremely minimal weaponry that I have on here. As you can see, it's not picking anything up. I'm just too high above the ground, which was very frustrating. Oh yeah, and I built that little power station there just to sort of keep myself shielded. Battery kept running out. This bit would have been cool if it had worked, but it didn't, which is unfortunate. So I am going to try and do something similar to what I had in mind here a bit later, eventually. And that's where I realised I had the scrappers in the wrong way. Okay. I'm sort of thinking for the next incarnation, I'm not going to worry quite so much about the refining and scrapping and focus more on just straight out fuel generation and rapid selling. I think it'd be a much better way of doing it. If I'm that focused or that worried about refining stuff, I'll just bring it back to the base. I don't know, I still find it really hard to watch myself and comment sort of after I've played. It's yeah. See, that irritated the snot out of me. My receivers will pick up items off a stationary tractor, but they won't collect the items off a tractor that's mounted on my tech. Anyway, I gave up. I went back to base, and you'll see here I've lowered the overall size of the vehicle, trying out some different wheels. Yeah. There we go. One thing I do like about the workaday wheels, or whatever they're called, is the suspension on them. They do drop down considerably, but if you're driving over stuff, they'll also raise up a bit, and yeah. And this is where I'm sort of just trying to flesh out the overall design a bit. I'm quite glad that I found the 1x3 blocks. They do make building larger vehicles a lot easier. Yeah. So now that I've lowered my vehicle, like, I still don't pick everything up. It's still not amazingly efficient, but at least now I do pick some stuff up. As I said, I am definitely going to have to completely redo it, which I'll probably do next episode, I think. It took ages to sell everything out of the trade station, by the way, too. Turned out there was a couple of pieces in there. I don't know whether the trade station was just having trouble pulling them into the middle or what the go was, but yeah. I had to basically pull a bunch of stuff out, put it all back in again so that it would start moving again. There's no way I could have afforded to build even this much of the vehicle if I hadn't scrapped and sold my entire other one, though. Yeah. Just watching this, I think next time, for the next incarnation of vehicle that I make, I'm going to do something that stands a lot more upright, I think. Something that's a lot taller. It'll have to be quite wide and, like, the base of it quite wide and fairly long, just to balance it out. But yeah, I think something that's got quite a nice high body on it. And I think instead of building the refining, etc. system sort of along, like, horizontally on it, I might try and build it vertically. Sort of build it up the back of the body or something. I don't know, maybe in between layers. I don't know. Yeah, gotta have my little pumpkins. Moved them around a bit. That's a bit better. One thing I do like about the pumpkins is that with the exception of the front, all sides are attachment points. bring that up a bit so that I can actually see how much battery I've got left. See, there's a reason I held on to all those weapons. One thing to note, if you are building a vehicle for harvesting, and it is fairly high off the ground, it does help to put things like the mortars facing down. That way they're going to destroy whatever's directly in front of you. As we can see here, I actually did have another bit in the middle there, but I don't know, the file just didn't work. It saved, but it just didn't cooperate. You can see I'm doing a lot more spread on my damage. The fact that I was relying so heavily on the VentureTech guns on my last vehicle, it did limit the range that I had as far as attacking goes, but the other side of it was a fairly high firing rate. Now the armor plate that I didn't previously have, the little 2x2s, or the 2x2 GSOs. Pinch all these weapons. Yeah, I'm not happy with this build at all. Not at all. It does the job, don't get me wrong. It does do essentially what it was meant to do. But, yeah. Doesn't mean I have to be happy with it. But that's alright. That's part of the fun. Like, I don't go into this fully planning out how I'm going to build things. I don't know, that to me would ruin a lot of the fun. If that's your way of playing, then great, all power to you. But yeah, I'll sort of go into it like a vague idea of, I want to build something that looks like it might fly this episode, or a giant tractor. I don't really go into it like, okay, I'm going to design this, I'm going to put this here, that there. Yeah, I don't know, just don't. So, anyway, guys, the time is getting to the point where it's almost up. So I'm going to say, from me, JesterArke, thank you very much, as always, for watching me in TerraTech. Yeah, please hit those buttons of appreciation and friendliness down the bottom, especially the one that says subscribe, just so I know you guys like what I'm doing. Like it, share it, comment on it, etc. Give me some ideas for what to build. And yeah, I will basically just keep roaming around making some more money, and see you guys in the next episode. Bye.